The world did not explode the way she expected. There was no shouting, no sudden violence, no raised voice. That was what terrified her most. He stepped back, slowly creating space that felt false. Controlled. Calculated. Around them, the cafe continued to breathe again. Cups clinked. Jazz resumed. People returned to their conversations, pretending nothing extraordinary was happening. But she knew better. He lifted his hand slightly. Not a command. A signal. The men near the door shifted. Subtle. Efficient. Blocking exits without drawing attention. Her stomach dropped. "This is not necessary," she said, her voice low. "Careful. You are frightening her." He looked at the child again, at the way she leaned into her mother, at the way her small fingers curled into fabric for comfort. "I would never frighten her," he said, not intentionally. The emphasis made her blood run cold. "We are leaving," she said, standing fully now, pulling her daughter close. "You are not." His voice remained calm, but the authority behind it pressed down hard. Her pulse thundered. "You cannot stop me. I already have," he replied. Her daughter looked between them, confusion knitting her small brow. "Mama, why is everyone quiet?" She swallowed, forced a smile that felt brittle. "It is nothing, baby. Just grown-up talk." He crouched slowly, bringing himself closer to the child's height. The movement was deliberate, gentle. She did not flinch, did not cry. She simply watched him. "You are very brave," he said quietly. The girl tilted her head. "I am not scared." His breath caught. "Just for a moment." "Good," he said. Then he stood, and the gentleness vanished. "We are going somewhere private," he said to the woman, "where we can talk without an audience." "I am not going anywhere with you," she snapped. His eyes met hers, unblinking. "You do not have a choice." Her chest burned. "I will scream. I will call the police." He leaned closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "You will not, and they will not help you." The truth settled like ice. She knew it was not a threat. It was a statement. "You will traumatize her," she whispered. He followed her gaze to the child. Something unreadable crossed his face. "That is why we leave calmly." "Nah." He straightened, pulled his phone from his pocket. "Bring the car around," he said quietly. "Clear my afternoon." "No," she said, reaching out instinctively. He cut her off with a look. Sharp. Final. 5 minutes. He said, "Either you walk out with me, or I come back in, and we do this the hard way." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "You would not," she whispered. He looked at her then. Really looked. Past fear. Past anger. "I have already lost 4 years," he said. "I will not lose another minute." Then he turned, walking toward the door with unhurried confidence. The men followed. The door closed behind them. She stood frozen. The cafe felt suddenly too bright, too loud. "Mama." Her daughter tugged her sleeve. "Can we go home now?" Home. The word crushed her. She dropped to her knees in front of the child, brushing hair from her face, trying to memorize her. "I need you to listen to me," she said softly. "We are going to take a ride with that man." "Why?" "Because." She struggled for words. "Because he is someone important." The child considered this. "Is he nice?" The question shattered her. She looked toward the window, at the black vehicle waiting outside, at the silhouette standing beside it. Watching. Waiting. She closed her eyes. The running was over, and whatever waited on the other side of that door, she would face it. For her daughter, even if it meant walking straight back into the fire. The moment the car door closed, the outside world vanished. The rain. The café. The last fragile illusion of choice. Warmth filled the vehicle instantly. Leather. Soft lighting. A silence so complete it felt intentional. Her daughter climbed onto the seat wide-eyed. "This car is big," she whispered. He watched her. Not discreetly. Not politely. As if looking away might cause her to disappear. The woman sat rigid beside her. Every muscle, every nerve alert. The door locked with a soft sound. Barely audible. But final. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere safe." He replied. "Close." He gave instructions in a language she had once learned to understand. Short. Efficient. Unquestioned. The car moved. Her daughter leaned forward, pressing her face to the window. Light slid past like a dream. "Is this your car?" she asked him. "Yes," he said. "It is very nice." "Thank you." The exchange was simple. Harmless. And it terrified the woman. He reached into a compartment and removed a small bottle. Held it out carefully. "Apple juice," he said. "Would you like some?" The child looked at her mother. "Waiting." She nodded stiffly. "Thank you." The girl said, "You are welcome." His voice cracked on the words. Just slightly. The woman noticed. And hated herself for noticing. The ride felt endless. Though it lasted only minutes. They entered a private garage. Gates opening without pause. Security lights flaring. Men appeared from nowhere. Scanning. Nodding. Her heart sank. The elevator required more than a button. A code. A scan. A pause. Her daughter hummed. Unaware. When the doors opened, the space beyond stole her breath. Glass walls. City stretching endlessly below. Everything polished. Controlled. Impossibly perfect. "Welcome," he said quietly. This was the world she had fled. The girl gasped. "Mama, it is so high." He crouched beside her, keeping distance, but close enough to be present. "You can see the whole city," he said. She smiled. "It looks like stars." He swallowed. A woman appeared. Efficient. Kind-faced. Professional. "Get her something warm," he said. "Food. Clothes." The woman nodded and vanished. "I do not need anything," she began. "You do," he interrupted. Firm. They stood there. The space between them, heavy with memory. "Why now?" she whispered. "Why today?" He did not answer immediately. His gaze fixed on the city. "Because the truth does not stay buried forever," he said. Her daughter wandered toward a massive dollhouse tucked into a corner. Her gasp filled the room. "Mama, look." He watched her kneel. Watched the way she touched each piece carefully. "My mother made that," he said quietly. "Long ago." The woman looked at him then. Really looked. And saw something she had never allowed herself to see before. Loss. He turned to her, his expression hardening once more. "We need to talk," he said. "Alone." Fear settled deep in her chest. This place was not a refuge. It was a fortress. And now she was inside it. With the one man she had never truly escaped. The room felt smaller once they were alone. Not because of walls, but because of everything pressing in between them. Her daughter's laughter echoed faintly from the other side of the door. Soft. Carefree. Unaware. He stood near the window with his back to her, hands clasped behind him, a posture she remembered well. Say something, she whispered. He turned slowly. The mask was gone. What would you like me to say? His voice was low, controlled only by effort. That you understand. That you forgive me. That you do not hate me. A humorless breath left him. I searched for you. Everywhere. He said. I tore my world apart. And you were carrying my child the entire time. I was protecting her. She said. From what? He demanded. From wealth. From safety. From me. From your enemies. She shot back. From your life. He closed the distance in 2 steps. The air thickened. Look at her. He said. That child is mine. My blood. And she has lived 4 years without knowing me. Tears burned her eyes. You would have wrapped her in guards. Locked her behind gates. Made her afraid. His voice dropped. I would have died for her. Silence stretched. He rubbed his face slowly. The motion tired. Human. When I saw her in the cafe. He said. I thought I was hallucinating. I have imagined her before. Dreamed of children who never existed. She flinched. But she exists. He continued. And she looks at me like she trusts me. A crack appeared in his voice. Barely there. That terrifies me. The admission shocked her. You are not supposed to be scared. She whispered. Everyone should be scared when something matters. He replied. A knock sounded. The door opened slightly. The woman with kind eyes appeared. Clothes folded in her arms. Dinner is ready. She said gently. Thank you. He replied. They stepped back into the main room. Her daughter sat on the floor, surrounded by tiny furniture. Completely absorbed. Mama, she said brightly. Can we stay here a little? The woman hesitated. He crouched beside the child again. Yes, he said softly. You are welcome here. The girl smiled. Then looked up at him. Are you my friend? His throat worked. He looked at the woman. She swallowed hard. He is, she said. Someone very important. The child considered this. Okay. And just like that, the weight shifted. Later, when the child sat wrapped in warm clothes, eating quietly, he spoke again. She deserves the truth. He said, she is 4. She will not understand. She will understand love. He replied. The woman closed her eyes. Tell her, she whispered, but slowly. He nodded. When he knelt in front of the child, his hands shook. I am someone special to you. He said, I am your father. The child blinked. Like Tommy at school. Yes. She studied him carefully. Then smiled. Do you read stories? His breath hitched. I will read all of them. She nodded satisfied. Then returned to her food. The woman laughed through tears. A broken sound. He stood. Eyes bright. Unguarded. Thank you. He whispered. But she could not answer. Because nothing in her life would ever be the same again. Night fell slowly over the city. Lights bloomed across the skyline like distant fires. From the height of the penthouse, the world looked calm. Orderly. Safe. But inside the apartment tension coiled tight. Her daughter slept in a room too large for her small body. Curled beneath soft blankets. A stuffed animal tucked under her chin. Breathing slow and even. The woman stood at the edge of the doorway watching. Memorizing the rise and fall of her chest. As if afraid sleep might steal something from her. Behind her, she felt him before she heard him. The same way she always had. She closed the door gently. Then turned. We need rules. she said immediately. Before you decide everything for us. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Listening. Rules. He repeated. Yes. Boundaries. She took a breath. She does not see violence. She does not hear about your work. She does not grow up thinking fear is normal. His jaw tightened. That is not realistic. I do not care. She said. It is necessary. He studied her. Long. Carefully. She does not leave without protection. He said. That is non-negotiable. Fine. But protection is not a prison. She needs friends. School. Normal days. Normal does not exist in my world. Then make space for it. She challenged. Silence stretched. The city hummed below them. I have enemies. He said finally. They will use her if they can. I know. Her voice softened. That is why I ran. His gaze sharpened. And yet here you are. Because running does not protect her anymore. She said. Not now that they know she exists. He exhaled slowly. Threats have already started. He admitted. Her chest tightened. How many? 3. He said. Credible ones. Fear flared. But she forced herself to stay upright. Then we do this together. She said. No secrets. He hesitated. That alone told her everything. No decisions about her without me. She added. Ever? He nodded once. Agreed. She searched his face. Looking for deception. For manipulation. She found none. Only resolve. What about us? She asked quietly. His expression shifted. We are complicated. He said. You do not get to control me anymore. She said. I will not disappear again. But I will not be owned. Something dark flickered. Then faded. I do not want to own you. He said. I want you here. There is a difference. She laughed bitterly. Is there? He stepped closer. Not crowding. Just near. I have spent 4 years thinking I lost you forever. He said. I am learning how not to hold too tightly. Her heart stumbled. And if you fail? She asked. Then you leave. He said simply. With her. I will not stop you. The admission stunned her. You would let us go. If it means she is safe. Yes. She stared at him. That is new. I am new. He replied. A sound interrupted them. Soft footsteps. Mama. Her daughter stood in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. Bad dream. The woman moved instantly. Scooping her up. He watched. Then stepped forward carefully. Do you want me to stay? He asked the child. She nodded. So he sat on the edge of the bed, while the woman lay beside her. 3 bodies sharing quiet space. The child drifted back to sleep. One small hand gripping each of theirs. In that moment, the woman understood. The real danger was not his enemies. It was how easily this could feel like home. Morning arrived quietly. Too quietly. The city beyond the glass looked calm. Sunlight spilling across rooftops like nothing in the world had changed. But inside the penthouse, everything felt sharpened. Alert. Waiting. She stood by the window, holding a mug she had not touched. Watching her daughter sleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like clean cotton and safety. For the first time in years, the child looked truly at ease. Behind her, he was on the phone. Voice low. Italian words falling fast. Controlled. Deadly calm. She caught fragments. Names. Locations. Orders. Her stomach tightened. When he ended the call, he did not turn around immediately. He stood still. as if measuring something heavy. "What is it?" she asked. He faced her slowly, and in his eyes, she saw something she had never seen before. Concern not for power, not for territory, but for her. "There was a reason you were never found," he said. Her breath caught. "I was careful," she replied. "You were protected," he corrected. Her pulse spiked. "By who?" He walked closer, every step deliberate. "Someone inside my organization knew," he said. "Someone who made sure my search went in the wrong direction." The room seemed to tilt. "That is impossible." "Nothing is impossible," he replied. "Especially betrayal." She felt cold settle deep inside. "You think someone helped me hide?" "I know someone did," he said. She shook her head. "No. I trusted no one." He studied her, then spoke the words that shattered everything. "You were followed the night you left." Her knees weakened. "I erased the trail," he continued, "because the person responsible is someone very close to me. Someone powerful. Fear twisted into something sharper. Then the danger was never just you." She whispered. "No," he said. "It was always closer." Her daughter stirred, murmured something in her sleep. He turned instantly, the hardness in his expression softening. "She is safe," he said firmly. "No one will touch her." But war was already in his eyes. "You brought her back into my world," he continued quietly. "Which means the enemy will move." She stepped closer. "Then tell me the truth." "All of it." He hesitated. "Only for a moment. The man who helped you disappear," he said, "is the same man now positioning himself to take my throne." Her breath came shallow. "And when he failed to find you then?" He waited. "Waited for what?" "For proof," he answered. "For leverage." Her gaze went to her daughter. "For her." Silence pressed in. "The cafe," she whispered. "It was not fate." "No," he said. "It was timing." She felt the weight of it settle, the final piece locking into place. Her running had delayed the inevitable, not avoided it. "What happens now?" she asked. He moved to her, hands firm on her shoulders. "Nah," he said. "I end this, once and for all. And if that means blood." She flinched. He softened instantly. "Not near her. Never near her." A small voice broke the tension. "Mama." They turned together. Her daughter sat up, rubbing her eyes. "Did I miss breakfast?" The woman smiled despite the fear burning in her chest. "No, baby. Not at all." He watched them, something fierce and protective blazing behind his calm. As he lifted the child into his arms, the woman understood the final truth. This was no longer a story about escape. It was a story about survival. And the real war was only just beginning. The rain came down hard enough to sting. Not the gentle kind that smelled clean and forgiving, but the kind that soaked through fabric in seconds and made every step feel heavier than the last. It plastered her hair to her cheeks and ran cold down the back of her neck, slipping past the collar of her thin coat as if it had been waiting for the chance. Her shoes squelched with each step, worn soles offering little protection from puddles that swallowed the sidewalk whole. Her daughter's hand was wrapped tightly in hers, too tightly, small fingers stiff with cold, trembling despite how firmly she tried to rub warmth into them as they walked. "Mama, I'm cold." The words were soft, almost embarrassed, as if the child felt guilty for needing something. That alone made her chest ache more than the weather ever could. "I know, baby. We're almost there, just a little longer." She didn't know if it was true, but she said it anyway. Mothers learned early how to turn hope into certainty with nothing but tone. Ahead, through the curtain of rain, the cafe sign glowed faintly amber, flickering like a promise that might disappear if she blinked too long. She focused on it, counting steps, ignoring the way her arms shook with exhaustion. The bus had broken down 3 blocks back. The umbrella had snapped in the wind shortly after. And the last of her pride had gone somewhere between the apology she whispered to her daughter and the sound of her stomach growling in protest. When she pushed the cafe door open, warmth hit them like a wave. Not just heat, but smell. Coffee, sugar, baked dough. A smell that felt expensive and safe and completely out of reach. For a moment, she simply stood there, blinking as her eyes adjusted, water dripping from her sleeves onto the polished floor. Her daughter's grip loosened, just a little. Inside, everything felt slower, softer. Jazz hummed low from hidden speakers. Cups clinked. People laughed quietly, wrapped in scarves that matched their coats, coats that looked dry and untouched by storms. She felt the shift immediately, the way conversations dipped, the way eyes flicked up then away. She became aware of herself all at once. The cheap coat darkened with rain, the fraying cuffs, the tired lines she no longer bothered to hide. Divorced, alone, counting dollars in her head before she even reached the counter. She guided her daughter toward a small table near the wall, the farthest spot from the windows, and the people who looked like they belonged here. As she sat, she brushed damp hair back from her child's forehead, smiling even as her jaw tightened. "Can I get something warm, Mama?" "Of course you can." She went to the counter with a careful, practiced calm, the kind she used when she knew the numbers didn't add up but still had to try. She ordered a hot chocolate with whipped cream, because denying that felt cruel, and the cheapest coffee on the menu for herself. Her fingers fumbled with damp bills, counting twice to make sure she hadn't made a mistake. That was when the feeling started. It wasn't sound or sight, it was pressure. Like the air itself had shifted, thickened, become alert. The cafe seemed to draw a breath and hold it. She felt it along her spine, a cold awareness that had nothing to do with rain. She straightened slowly. Her instincts had always been sharp, sharpened by a life she no longer spoke about, by nights spent waiting for phone calls that could change everything, by learning how to read danger in silence rather than noise. She had buried that part of herself under routines and grocery lists and bedtime stories. She told herself it was gone. It was. She felt watched. Not in the casual way strangers glanced, but in the way a hunter notices movement. Deliberate, focused, familiar in a way that made her stomach drop. Her heart began to race, and she had no reason for it. No explanation. Just a sense of wrongness that crawled under her skin and refused to leave. She turned slightly, just enough to see movement near the entrance. Dark coats, broad shoulders, the subtle way men position themselves without needing to speak. Security. The word surfaced unbidden, carrying with it a flood of memories she had spent 4 years locking away. No, not here, not now. She carried the drinks back to the table, forcing her steps to remain steady. Her daughter beamed at the sight of whipped cream, blowing on the cup far too dramatically and giggling when a small white splash landed on the table. The sound was bright, pure, untouched by fear. Her mother watched her like someone watching light in a room she knew might soon go dark. As she lifted her coffee, her hand shook just enough that she had to grip the cup with both palms. She kept her eyes on her daughter's face, memorizing it in that way parents did when something inside whispered that moments were fragile. That was when she felt it again, stronger now, close. A presence at her back, heavy and controlled, carrying the faint scent of expensive cologne and rain-soaked wool. The kind of scent that once meant power and protection and confinement all at once. Her breath caught. She didn't need to turn to know. The past had a way of finding her when she least expected it. And as her daughter laughed softly, unaware of the storm gathering just behind her chair, the woman understood something with terrifying clarity. The cafe was no longer a refuge. It was the beginning of something she had never truly escaped. The memory came to her, the way storms always did in her life without warning and without mercy. She sat across from her daughter in the cafe, but her mind was no longer there. It drifted backward to a world she had once sworn never to think about again. 4 years earlier, she had lived in silence, wrapped in silk and guarded by men who never smiled. Her home had been high above the city, where glass walls looked down on everything and everyone. People called it luxury. She had called it a cave. She had been married to a man whose name opened doors and ended conversations. A man whose calm voice could stop violence or start it. A man who never raised his voice, yet never needed to. When he entered a room, the air changed, just like it had moments ago in this cafe. She remembered the weight of his presence behind her back then. A hand resting possessively at her waist. Guards positioned outside every door. Phones that were always monitored. Friends that were always vetted. Freedom that was always promised and never given. She had loved him. That was the most dangerous part. She loved the way he watched her like she mattered. Loved the way nothing in the world felt more important to him than her safety. Loved the way his focus burned hot and steady like fire. But fire consumed everything it touched. The night she left was quiet. No screaming. No confrontation. Just the sound of a suitcase zipper closing and her heart pounding so loud she thought it would wake the building. She had waited until he was gone. Left behind jewelry. Left behind money. Left behind a life that would have swallowed her whole. She had already known she was pregnant then. She had pressed a hand to her stomach and whispered an apology to the life growing inside her. Promising safety. Promising freedom. Promising never to let that child grow up afraid. The divorce had been clean on paper. Messy in every other way. Lawyers spoke for them. Silence replaced love. And she disappeared before he could ask questions she was not ready to answer. For 4 years, she rebuilt herself piece by piece. Cheap apartments. Long shifts. Tired bones. Empty nights. She learned how to survive without guards. How to breathe without permission. How to be invisible. But some habits never left. She still checked exits when she entered rooms. Still flinched at sudden silences. Still felt dread when the air shifted around her. Now in the cafe, that dread pressed down hard. Her chest felt tight. Her instincts screamed that the past was no longer behind her. That it was standing only feet away. She looked at her daughter. So small. So warm. So unaware of the world she had been born from. The child stirred whipped cream with serious concentration. Humming softly. Safe for now. The woman wrapped both hands around her coffee. The heat barely touching the cold settled deep in her bones. She told herself she was imagining things. That fear had a long memory. That ghosts could not follow her forever. But somewhere behind her, she felt certainty. The kind that came from knowing a storm by the way the air held its breath. The kind that told her this was not coincidence. Her past had found her. And whatever came next would change everything. He had not planned to stop at the cafe. It was meant to be a brief pause between meetings, a place to wait, while the rain softened the city. He chose it because it was quiet, because it was anonymous, because no one there would dare look at him for too long. The moment he stepped inside, the air shifted. Not for the room. For him. His body reacted before his mind did. A tightening in his chest. A sharp awareness along his spine. The kind of instinct he had trusted his entire life. The kind that had kept him alive. He felt her. 4 years had passed, and still his body remembered. The way it always had. The way it always would. He stood near the entrance, letting the rain drip from his coat, ignoring the barista waiting for his order. His eyes scanned the room without urgency, without haste. And then he saw her. Seated near the wall. Smaller than he remembered. Thinner. Older in ways that spoke of struggle rather than time. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed. The noise dimmed. The room disappeared. There she was. The woman who had vanished from his life without warning. The woman who had left behind silence and questions, and a wound that never closed. Elena. His jaw tightened. His hand stopped midway to his phone. 4 years of control, fractured in a single breath. He had searched for her. Relentlessly. Cities burned under his gaze. Names were whispered into phones. Money flowed like water. Favors were collected. Debts were called in. Nothing. She had disappeared, as if the earth had swallowed her whole. And now she sat in front of him, soaked from the rain, wearing clothes that spoke of compromise, of sacrifice. Anger flared, sharp and immediate. Then pain. Then something far more dangerous. Hope. His gaze dropped without permission, to the small figure across from her. A child. A girl. Blonde hair damp at the edges. Small hands wrapped around a cup. Laughing softly at something only she could see. His breath slowed. His mind began to calculate. Time frames. Distances. Ages. No. He told himself. But his eyes would not leave her. The shape of her face. The tilt of her chin. The unmistakable familiarity that struck him like a blow. His heartbeat thundered, loud enough that he was sure someone else could hear it. He had seen children before. Many of them. None had ever done this to him. None had ever felt like loss. One of his men spoke quietly beside him, asking if he wanted the car brought around, if the schedule should chain. He raised a single finger. The room fell silent around him, without him needing to look. His focus remained fixed, on the woman who refused to turn around, on the child who mirrored something deep in his own blood. 4 years. He had mourned her, raged for her, loved her from afar, hated her for leaving. And now fate had placed her in front of him, with something precious sitting beside her, something that should not exist, and yet did. His chest tightened further, possessive instinct igniting, cold and precise. Whatever this was, whatever she had hidden, it was no longer hers alone. He straightened slowly, power settling back into his posture, mask sliding into place. He did not rush. He did not hesitate. He stepped forward, because some storms did not pass. They reclaimed what was taken. She felt it before she saw him. That pressure at her back grew heavier, like the air itself had decided to lean closer. Her skin prickled. Her breath shortened. Every instinct she had buried screamed at once. Do not turn around. Do not look. Do not confirm what you already know. Her fingers tightened around the paper cup. The heat burned her palms, but she welcomed it. Pain was grounding. Pain was real. Her daughter laughed softly across from her. A small sound full of trust, full of safety. And the contrast nearly broke her. She lifted her eyes despite herself. Just a fraction. Just enough. And there he was, standing a few steps away. Tall. Immovable. Dark coat still damp from the rain. As if the storm had followed him inside out of respect. 4 years vanished. His face was sharper now, harder in ways that spoke of wars fought and won. But his eyes, those eyes were unchanged. Storm gray. Cold and burning at the same time. Eyes that once watched her like she was the center of the universe. Eyes that now locked onto her with devastating certainty. The world tilted. She forgot how to breathe. Forgot where she was. Forgot how much she had practiced this moment in nightmares. Recognition hit him instantly. She saw it move through him. A flicker of disbelief. Then hunger. Then something darker and far more dangerous. Control. His body went still. Too still. The way predators froze before striking. She looked away first. Fear winning over pride. Survival overriding everything. Her heart hammered so hard, she thought it might give her away. She focused on her daughter. on the curl of her hair, on the smear of whipped cream at the corner of her mouth. Do not look back, she told herself. Footsteps sounded behind her. Unhurried. Measured. Close. The scent reached her next. Expensive. Familiar. A memory that hit her chest like a blow. Her stomach twisted. She stood abruptly, almost knocking her chair back. Her movements clumsy with panic. She needed to leave. Nah. Mama. Her daughter looked up confused. Where are we going? Just a second, baby. She forced a smile that hurt her face. Stay right here. She turned, and there was no space left between them. He was closer than she expected. So close she could feel heat radiating from him. So close that every scar she carried beneath her skin ached. His gaze dropped briefly. To her face. Then lower. Then to the child. And everything changed. She saw it happen. The exact moment, his attention sharpened into something lethal. His eyes narrowed. His breathing slowed. The world around him seemed to disappear. He looked at the girl again. More carefully now. Her chin. Her eyes. That unmistakable familiarity. Her heart stopped. She stepped between them instantly. A reflex older than fear. Her body a shield before her mind caught up. Do not look at her. She wanted to scream. Do not see what I know you see. Excuse me. His voice cut through the noise. Low. Controlled. Dangerously calm. She forced herself to meet his gaze. The weight of it pressed into her chest. Dante. The name slipped out before she could stop it. Soft. Broken. Something flickered across his face at the sound. Something raw. Something human. 4 years. He said quietly. Not a question. She swallowed. Her throat felt tight. I have to go. His eyes never left her. You already did. The words landed heavy between them. Her daughter tugged at her sleeve. Mama, who is that man? The question echoed. Loud in a room that had gone unnaturally still. Dante looked down slowly. Really looked. And in that moment she knew. There was no hiding left. No running. No escape. The past had not just found her. It had recognized itself in her child. Silence fell in a way that felt unnatural. Not quiet but suspended. As if the room itself was waiting. He did not answer the child. Did not look away. Did not move. His eyes stayed on the little girl. Studying her with an intensity that made the mother's pulse scream. This was no casual glance. This was assessment. Calculation. Recognition. The woman felt it then. The exact second control slipped from her grasp. She reached for her daughter's hand. Too late. The damage was already done. How old is she? His voice was low. Even. Dangerously calm. The question cut through her like ice. She shook her head instinctively. You do not get to ask that. His gaze lifted to her. Sharp. Focused. Unforgiving. How old? Is. She. Each word landed separately. Precise. Deadly. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. 4 years of planning. 4 years of hiding. 4 years of telling herself this moment would never come. Shattered. Before she could stop her. Before fear could pull the child back into silence. The girl looked up. I am 4. She said proudly, holding up her fingers. Almost 5. The world tilted. The man went completely still. Not frozen. Not shocked. Still. Like something inside him had locked into place. 4. The word did not leave his mouth, but it echoed in his eyes. In the way his jaw tightened. In the way his breath slowed to something measured and lethal. 4 years. 4 years ago. 4 years since she vanished. The math completed itself. The mother felt her knees weaken. Her hand tightened around her daughter's fingers. "Do not," she whispered, barely audible. But he was no longer listening. His gaze returned to the child. Softer now. Not less intense, but altered. Wonder crept in, alongside fury, alongside something ancient and possessive. Mine. The thought was clear on his face. Unmistakable. The cafe no longer existed for him. There was only the girl. The proof. The stolen years staring back at him with blue, curious eyes. The mother stepped fully in front of her daughter, her body moving on instinct. A shield. A barrier. "Do not look at her like that," she said, her voice shaking despite her effort. He finally looked at her. Really looked. 4 years. He repeated. "And you never said a word." "I had my reason." His eyes darkened. "I am sure you did." Her daughter tugged at her coat. "Mama, is he mad?" The question sliced through the tension. Innocent. Unaware. Terrifying. He inhaled sharply, as if hearing the child's voice had struck something fragile inside him. "No," he said quickly, lowering himself slightly, so his towering presence softened. "I am not mad at you." She blinked at him, then smiled shyly. "Okay." The simplicity nearly broke him. He straightened slowly, and when he looked back at the woman, the storm had arrived. "You took something from me," he said quietly. "Something that was never yours to take." She shook her head. "I was protecting her. From me." His voice hardened. "Or from the truth. From your world," she whispered. His lips pressed together. A muscle jumped in his jaw. "That world," he said, "is now hers too." Fear wrapped around her chest, thick and suffocating. "No," she said. "Not ever." His eyes flicked to the men near the door, then back to her. "You should not have come here," he said. "Neither should you." A corner of his mouth lifted. Not in humor. In certainty. Fate does not make mistakes. She felt it then. The finality. The truth she could no longer deny. The secret was out, and nothing would ever be the same again.